I've been with my girlfriend for 4.5 years, and we've been living together for the past 4. She's 28, and I'm 31. We live in a major city, and lately, she's been going out more often, even on weeknights, which feels out of character. She's currently unemployed, so she occasionally spends her evenings out with her girlfriends while I stay home. Last night, she left with her friends around 11 p.m. It's now almost 5 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and she still hasn't come home. I've been feeling uneasy about her frequent outings, and tonight, my anxiety has spiked. We share the same Wi-Fi network, so I receive her email alerts when she uses Uber. At around 2 a.m., I got an alert that she had taken an Uber ride, and the drop-off location matched the address of our apartment. The route showed that she likely dropped off her friends first since it passed by their homes before stopping here. But despite the fact that the alert indicated she was dropped off, she hasn't walked through the door. It's been hours now, and there's still no sign of her. Feeling increasingly anxious, I decided to check her location using the Find My iPhone feature on her iPad. The tracker shows her phone is about 4 blocks away from our apartment on the same street. It's at a building that's part of a larger complex with multiple apartments. The GPS could be slightly off, so it might not be the exact building, but it's unsettling that her phone is still active and so close, yet she isn't home. I can't just go over there and start knocking on doors, especially at this hour, and there's no way to know exactly where she is. At 4:45 a.m., I started calling and texting her, but she hasn't responded. I also tried reaching her friends, calling each of them twice, but no one has picked up. The silence is driving me crazy. On one hand, I'm worried about her safety, but on the other, I can't help but feel suspicious. If she was dropped off here, why isn't she home? Is she with someone else? The thought of her cheating is making my heart race, and I can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. I'm stuck, not knowing what to do. Should I keep calling her, or should I just wait it out and hope she's okay? Should I go over to where the GPS shows her phone, even if it feels invasive and might not lead to anything? I'm panicking, and the uncertainty is killing me. I could really use some advice right now because my mind is going to all the worst places. I've been trying to figure out where my girlfriend is. She's supposed to be somewhere in the area, and when I use the Find My iPhone app, I can hear her phone, but I can't figure out which specific apartment it's in. It's frustrating, but I've decided to walk around the neighborhood to see if I can find her. At this point, I'm worried that something might have happened, like she was robbed or attacked and left behind somewhere. It's especially concerning because she's only a block away from the hospital. I'm planning to walk around for about 20 minutes and then come back. I walk through the area, but there's no way for me to check every apartment building. I didn't see anything suspicious, and nothing stood out to me. Someone commented, telling me not to jump to the worst-case scenario yet. They suggested that when I see her again, I should ask what happened and check if her story matches up. If she lies about where she was, then I'll have my answer. I replied, saying that's pretty much my plan. I'm worried she might come up with an excuse, like one of her girlfriends needed to go to some guy's apartment, and she ended up going with her and passing out there. But even if that's what happened, I'd still be angry. If she needed a ride home, she knows she could have called me. We live only 4 blocks away. I would have walked over and brought her back safely. Another commenter asked if she has a history of drinking heavily, suggesting she might have just passed out at a friend's place and forgotten to call me. If that's the case, they said, I need to talk to her about how worrying it is when she goes off the grid like that. I explained that since her dad got injured over the summer and she left her job to take care of him, she's been acting differently. Her father is fully recovered now, but she refuses to look for another job. Instead, she goes out drinking with friends once on a weekday and again on the weekend. Typically, she leaves around 10 or 11 p.m. and comes home between 3 and 4 a.m. When she does come home, I usually see an Uber receipt on our shared iPad, which shows her drop-off time at our apartment, usually around 2 a.m. Another person commented, saying that as long as everything is okay and there's no cheating involved, it sounds like we need to have a serious discussion about her behavior. They hope that this was just a one-time incident and that she's safe at a friend's place. I responded, thanking them for the advice and saying that being able to talk to people here is really helping me stay calm. A couple of hours ago, I was feeling torn between wanting to cry and being angry. Now, I'm just trying to stay patient and take a wait-and-see approach. I've been calling her and her friends every 45 minutes to an hour to see if I can reach anyone and find out what's going on. Eventually, her friend called me back and said my girlfriend had spent the night at her place. But the way she said it, I could tell she was lying. I'm taking a break from Reddit for a bit to collect my thoughts, but I'll update after I speak with my girlfriend. I'm doing my best to stay calm, but it's really hard right now. Wish me luck. Things only got more confusing. Her friend called again and insisted that they stayed at her apartment together. But I've already checked the Uber and iCloud data, and it doesn't match up with her story. I asked if I could speak to my girlfriend directly, but her friend said she had just left. When I called my girlfriend's phone, she didn't pick up. Using the Find My iPhone app, I could see that her phone hadn't moved at all since the morning. Based on the story her friend told me, there are only 2 routes she could have taken if she was coming from that friend's apartment. However, the location shown on iCloud doesn't align with either of those routes. Instead, it's in a completely different direction. I decided to watch her phone's movement closely. When I finally saw her phone start to move, I planned to wait outside, just around the corner, so I could catch her coming back from the direction that didn't match the story she's trying to sell. To summarize everything that's happened, my girlfriend of 4.5 years went out with her friends last night in the city. We share an iPad, which I keep next to our bed. When I woke up this morning, I saw an Uber receipt on the iPad indicating she was dropped off at our apartment at 2:07 a.m. Concerned about her, I used the Find My iPhone app to check on her location, and I saw her phone was actually 4 blocks away from our place, still on the same street. I tried to get in touch with her friends, but no one responded until 9 a.m. When one of them finally called, she sounded frantic and said, "Oh my God, your girlfriend came back to my place last night and passed out. We were both really drunk. So I'm sorry no one called or texted you. I knew this wasn't true because her friend's apartment is nowhere near the location where I tracked my girlfriend's phone." I tried to stay calm and said it was fine, but I asked if I could speak to my girlfriend. The friend claimed she had just left, and it should take about 20 minutes for her to walk home from that location. However, an hour went by and still, my girlfriend hadn't returned. When I called her phone again, I noticed that familiar beep at the end of the ringtone, which made me think she was on another line. I kept watching her location through the app and saw her leave the unknown apartment. She paused on a street corner for about 15 minutes before taking a completely different route home. When she finally walked in around 10:15 a.m., she started by saying, "Sorry, the shuttle was super slow today. Plus I stopped to get some fresh fruit." It wasn't a genuine apology. It felt more like an excuse, and she acted as if I was the one overreacting for being concerned about where she had been all night. It's completely out of character for her to stay out this late. Usually, she calls or texts me when she's on her way home from the city, and she has always been good about keeping me updated. This time, though, there was nothing. No message, no call, and no explanation until she walked through the door. Once we were inside, I asked her to tell me about her night. She shrugged and said, "We just went to the club. That's it." Her tone was casual, almost dismissive. I pressed further, asking if they had stayed at the club all night, and she told me they stayed pretty late. But I knew that wasn't true. The Uber receipt I had said she was picked up at the club at 1:50 a.m., and I know clubs here don't close until 4 a.m. On a typical night out, she usually comes home between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m., so the timeline didn't match up at all. I asked her if they had gone anywhere else after the club. She responded, "No, we were pretty drunk, so we went straight from the club to my friend's apartment. When I got there, I passed out on the couch." Her story didn't make sense. The Uber receipt clearly stated that she was dropped off at our apartment, not her friend's place. At this point, I decided to confront her directly and asked, Are you sure you're telling me everything? She instantly got defensive, her tone sharp as she said, underscore you. I already have a father and an overprotective brother. Why the underscore? Can't I just go out with my friends for one night without you getting all over my ass about it? It felt like she was trying to flip the situation back on me, making me seem like the unreasonable one. For context, she goes out with her friends alone 2 or 3 nights a week, and I have never had a problem with it before. It's not as if this is a rare occurrence. She's used to going out regularly, and I've always been fine with it. Then, I pulled out my phone and showed her the Uber receipt along with screenshots from the Find My iPhone app. I even went as far as to show her a journal where I had documented all the steps I took to try to get in touch with her. I explained how worried I was, and how none of her story made sense based on the information I had. Her response was, underscore for you. Why the underscore? Are you accusing me of underscore? I try to tag my location on Facebook all the time, and it shows up wrong. My phone is underscore up anyway. I'm not lying. I went right to my friend's apartment. I asked again, so why does Uber have confirmation that you were dropped off here? That was when her story started to unravel. She said, well, we dropped all the girls off at the apartment first, and then Uber took me here. But I couldn't find the apartment keys. So rather than waking you up or buzzing to get in, I decided to walk back to my friend's place. Her explanation made no sense at all. She had been wearing a club outfit, no jacket, just a dress and heels, and it was 14 degrees Fahrenheit last night. The streets and sidewalks were literally sheets of ice, and there was no way she could have walked the 35-minute distance at 2 a.m. in 6-inch heels, through dangerous areas and in those conditions. It was physically impossible, and I knew she was lying. Despite all of this, she kept insisting that I was being unreasonable and that I needed to believe her. She claimed she was telling the truth and even offered her phone for inspection, as if that would clear things up. But when I looked at her phone conveniently, there was no call log showing the calls I had made to her around 9:45 a.m. Instead, there was a text conversation with her friend, supposedly confirming that they had spent the night at her friend's apartment. The text seemed off. They were all time-stamped during the period when the Find My iPhone app showed her leaving our apartment and hanging out at a random corner. It felt staged, like she and her friend were trying to cover their tracks. At this point, I calmly told her that I wasn't buying any of it and that I was ending the relationship immediately. I packed a large bag right in front of her, filling it with my clothes, laptop, and other essentials, and told her I was leaving within the next half hour. She remained disturbingly calm, acting as if none of this was really happening. She said in her usual nonchalant tone, well, if that's what you want to do, I won't stop you. It was as if she thought I was bluffing, like she believed she could push my boundaries and I'd back down at the last moment. But I know I'm not wrong. If Find My iPhone shows you up the block, you can't tell me you were a 10-minute car ride away. GPS isn't that inaccurate. It's reliable, scientific technology. Right now, I'm unsure about what happens next. I have a 6-month, expensive gym membership to sort out, and we had a couple of trips planned in the next 30 days. One to the mountains and another to Florida. Plus, our friends overlap so much that I know it's going to be a mess. I don't know if she cheated, but at this point, it doesn't even matter. It's practically undeniable at this point. I'm 99.999% certain that she spent the night somewhere else, and now she's making a real effort to cover it up. It feels like she's deliberately trying to twist the situation to make me look like the bad guy. She's accusing me of being possessive, and she even went as far as to call me a psycho and a stalker. What's worse is that she's acting completely indifferent about it, as if it doesn't even matter to her whether I stay or leave. Well, I've had enough. I'm at the point where I'm ready to walk away from this. I don't want to deal with this dishonesty and manipulation any longer. If anyone has any advice, words of encouragement, or even criticism as I start this new chapter in my life, I would appreciate it. Please feel free to share your thoughts. I plan on checking back in later, once I make it to my parents' house this afternoon. Right now, My plan is to stay there temporarily while I figure out my next steps and find a new place to live. I'm so grateful for the support and advice I received earlier today. I was in a really dark place, and to be honest, I don't know what I would have done without you all. I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack, completely overwhelmed. Your words and kindness really helped me hold it together, and I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. One person commented, saying that I did the right thing. They pointed out that she was clearly trying to gaslight me, but I stood my ground. They said that if her story were true, there's no way Apple's GPS would have shown her being 4 blocks away from me when she was supposedly at a friend's place in the city next to mine. If there had been a glitch, it wouldn't have been that precise. Her story about getting out of the Uber also didn't make sense. They told me that I have enough evidence to call her out as a liar and that I should never settle for dishonesty in a relationship because I deserve so much better. Another person expressed sympathy and said they weren't sure if I made the right decision or if she was actually cheating, but they wished me the best of luck with whatever I decide to do moving forward. It meant a lot to hear that kind of support, even from someone who wasn't entirely sure of the situation. Someone else added that even if everything she said somehow turned out to be true, it still didn't justify her behavior. They pointed out that she didn't think it was important to call or text me while she was out, and that she showed up at 10:15 a.m. the next morning with a pineapple and some kiwi fruits, expecting me to be grateful for that. There was no apology, no explanation, nothing. They said that if someone can do that after 4.5 years together, then they aren't worth my time, and I deserve better than that.